Friends, from the last class, we discussed about file handling along with the examples also. So do you have any questions for me? Okay. So today we'll be looking into a few examples of files. How do we handle the files and how do we create a new files? Okay. So for that, I'm going to create a simple class. So I'll name it as like file example. Okay. So try to take the main method. So if I say file is equals to some new file. Okay. And give it a name here. So here you can see file. It is imported from the java.io package. Okay. So java.io package. So it like file, string, URI, and all these are the few type of constructors that we have. Okay. So here I'm going to take some example like adding file path. Where do we need to create the file path? So for this, as we look into it, system.get. So it is a string, right? So we need to mention it as like a string. System.get property. In that we are going to give user.dir. So user.dir, if I define this user.dir, okay, so to get the property in the sense, if I say, like for example, here I'm going to add something empty string. We'll see that if we have anything called file path, where it's going to take the path. Okay. So here we are going to append few things like src, and what is it? We have its location. Okay. If I try to print the path, you can see it's going to print the path of it. Okay. So you can see Ashok IT. So from this location, it's like, it is just trying to print this. Okay. So let me just remove this and I'll try to give this as like SQL sequence. Okay. So we have to give to okay. Now you see it is pointing to this location. So till this location, if I give the system.get property, what it does is like it will point to the current project. Okay. Current project. So in that project, we have to traverse from files to source and files. Okay. To place some files inside this folder. So here, what I'm going to do is like I'll take the file path and I'll give the file path plus and the file name. Okay. So inside this, we want to have the file name, right? Let me give it as a sample.txt. Okay. So let me go and try to, otherwise we can get the name of that file. Okay. So what is the name of the file? We can use file.get absolute path name. So we have all this details of that particular file class. So when I go and get execute this file, so you can see we are getting the file name and the file has been created inside this. Okay. Just to go and refresh this folder. So okay, it has to get created. Okay. Now you can see that sample.txt that we have, we'll write something inside it. Okay. So if file exists, okay. So we have some methods here. If file exists, so we say that file created. Okay. File created. Okay. Why the file is not created? Just we have given the path and it says like, we are appending it and it says like, we file.get name. So here, if you see that it's not created yet. Okay. So let me just go to this location and try to check whether that file is created or not. The files, you see that it's not available here. Okay. So let me do one thing. Now I'm getting that file. If file exists, it's created. Else what I'm going to do is like I'll create a file. Okay. So how do we create a file? File dot create new file. Okay, so add source destination. If it is there, it's going to create. If it is not there, it's going to. So that what is happening, the system cannot find the specified path. It says like, file is not available in this. Okay, so what we have to do is like, we'll try to remove this, and what I'm going to do is like, I'll just try to get the file name now. Create new file. We are saying that create new file. What it is doing is like file path. So whatever the file that we have tried to create, it's going to create in this location. But you see that we are telling that create a new file, but we did not name that file, right? So how do we name it now? So if you try to give it the file path, and let me just give sample.txt. The file created, and it says like something file path. Let me just go and refresh it. What it is doing now, new file path that we are passing it as like a, what are we doing here? We are passing it as like a string there. Now let's go and refresh this. You can see file sample.txt. The thing is like I did, like I just passed it as like a string. What we need is like, we need a file path for this. Okay. So let me remove this and try to see if that file that we can create. Okay. So here, well, I'm just giving some other name. Apple123.txt. Apple123.txt. So what is the mistake I did here? I was just passing it as like a string. So we have to pass. This is like, already we have taken the string. Again, if we are taking the string, then what it is doing is like, it says like file does not exist, and it is showing the exception. But now you see that we have created some empty files here. Okay. So this is the method which will check for the file existence, and this is a method, it will create a new file. Okay. So this is a example of files. How do we create the files? Now we'll get the file name also. If you want to see the file path, that is also quite possible using the get absolute path or canonical path. So few like both are similar, but this will show you like, you see, this is located in this location. The other one is like file dot get canonical path. So what it does is like, you can just get into the method and try to understand it. Okay. So what it says like, the canonical path name strings denoting the same file or directory as there is abstract path name. Okay. So there are only few differences. Canonical is like, it's going to show you the same location, but now you can see it's going to pass the same thing. Okay. So only the difference is like absolute path is like, if you have some path which is located some location. Okay. So complete path would be written. Okay. So absolute path of this thing is like abstract path name. So both does the same thing. Few methods are there which are like, substitute of each. So file dot, if you want to see, can read, write. Okay. So if you have any permissions here, can read, write. So all these things we can check. So exist, it will show you the existence. Name, it will get the name. And get get path is like, again same. It's going to give the file location, path of that location. Is absolute path, is directory. Okay. There is another thing. Whether this is a directory or not, that we can check. Okay. So I'm going to give this one as like file path. Okay. So then it's like, I'm going to check. What is that file path actually? File path is like a string. Okay. File path is like a string. So what do we need to take is like, this is what I need to check, right? So I'll just take it and I'll try to see if what it does is like, will it show anything? Okay. It is kind of a string which is going to return. So what I need to do, I have a file here which has created. On this file only I can check whether that is a folder or it's a file. Okay. So if I say file dot is directory, it's not a directory. So it will throw the, it's kind of like it's going to throw the return the Boolean value. Okay. So is directory. Is directory. It's not a directory, it's a file. Okay. So it will throw the false here. So if it is a directory, then it's going to throw as like, so let's check, let's go and check if you want to see this particular location. So let me take another file. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll take this one as the same thing. So here, what I will do is like file dot create. So create new file. It is saying that create new file. If you just give the path of it, then what it does, let's see. So here we are going to take file dot create new file. If I say create new file, it's going to create this particular thing. Okay. So if I remove this, so still it is showing like, it's like it's trying to create a new file, but still it is not a directory. If you go and refresh this, you can see it is creating the file with extension. Without any extension, it is creating. Okay. So let's do one thing. I'll try to create a folder inside this. Okay. So now we got this. So this is the location of it. But here what I'm doing is like file is equals to file. Now it is showing through because this is a directory. Okay, sample is like a directory. So it will check for this kind of things. Okay, so we'll use a lot of methods here. So file methods. So file has a lot of methods. Whichever method is like feasible for us when we are trying to do the automation that we are going to use. Okay, so generally what we do is like if you want to create a new file, we can create, and then we see that if the existence of the file is there, then it will we use the exist, and if you want to get the file path, absolute file path, where the file is located, we'll use the file absolute file path. So this is the method, and get name is like we are going to get the name of that file. Okay, so we'll use few things here. Another thing is like you can see make directory and you can create the directories. Okay, so I use like create file because we want to create the file. If you want to create the directory, you can create the directory. You can give the name of this and you can create the directory. For example, if I say 1, 2, 3, and here I'll say that file one dot make directory. So it's going to create the directory, and is directory that I'm going to check, and I'm going to get the path of it. So file one dot get name of that file. Okay, so let's go and try to refresh, execute this program. It's not creating. So make directory. Let me go and refresh this. It has created. See, files.sample 1 to 3 is like we have got the files here, but it has to create another one. So some file path it is showing like here you can have this. I'll delete this one. So which is not required. Okay. So what I will do is like I'll delete this one also. So if finally it is printing get name is like file 1 to 3. That is nothing but file name it is showing up here. Let me refresh this. Let me refresh. Just you need to do is like guess whenever we are trying to create something, just you have to give that one as like a parameter to this file. Okay, so it's kind of like I'm trying to create this. So if I say new file and the file, I'll take some location. Let me take till here, and you can try to create make directory. If that file is if the file does not exist, then what you can do is like you can use the same thing here. Like again, file is like if it exists, it is already created. If it does not exist, we are going to create it. Just use this file dot make directory. Okay, so it's going to create a new directory for this. Okay, so we have a lot of methods here, guys. So whichever method is visible to us, that we are going to use. Okay, so directory and all we are not going to create, only the files that we are going to create as part of our automation. Okay, so let me go back to this. I'll remove these things. You can take this one as like example sketch and you can just work on it. Okay, so now we are going to see a program. So this program will help you to find out the latest downloaded file. Okay, so for this we are going to use some methods like, if file exists, and we are going to use like what is the name of the file, and we are going to use some last modified method. Okay, so let me just create a class here. Last downloaded file. Downloaded file. Rename it to last downloaded. Okay, so here what we do is like we are going to take a file array. Okay, so we'll take the path and we are going to find out which file is lastly downloaded. So for this, what I'm going to do is like first I'm going to take a variable or string file path. So I'm going to give the path of this particular location. Okay, so let's see that if we have some downloaded files. Okay, last downloaded file. I want to find out last downloaded file. So how do I do it? So here I'm going to take the location of this particular directory. Okay, so this is located, C user del and the downloads. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like I'll take this downloads. We got the location and we need to find out which file is downloaded last. So inside this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just create a file equals to new file, and I'm going to pass the file path. Yes, so we need to have this object created for this file. Okay, so we need to import the package from iPhone, java.io package. Now we got the package here. So first we need to check if that is a directory. Okay, because if we take it as like a file, if this path has like some file that, for example, downloads.txt, we cannot find that, right? Find which file is like lastly downloaded or which file is lastly added. So for this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to check is directory. Okay, so if it is a directory, then what I'm going to do is like I'll just create a file array. Okay, so file array, what it does is like it's going to just it's going to create it's going to capture all the files within that directory. Okay, it's not going to create any directory, it's going to capture all the files within the directory. For example, I'll show you. See, now we need to check this, right? So what we need to do is like we need to take all the last modified dates, like date modified, and we have to compare with each of this file. Okay, first it will take and it will compare this one. If this is greater, then it will rename, or else it's going to replace this file with this file. Okay, I mean, this is the name of the file in the program, not here in the original location. So it will compare the date modified. Okay, it will check it's 1027 and it's like 1015. So it is the latest one. So likewise, it will compare with each and every file. If anything is greater, it will replace that value. Okay, so for this we have to write a small logic. So it's very easy. First, now you see, I'm going to take files. Okay, and file dot get list of files here. Okay, so we are going to get list of files as we discussed here, right? So we are going to get the list of files. So now we need to have one other variable created so that we can store that particular file location in it. Okay, file location and get the name of it. So for this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to take a file name called last downloaded is equals to some number. So now here I'll take this last downloaded and then I'm going to compare with each file in this file array. Okay, first I'm going to take one of the files from this location. I'm assuming that there is a one file location. So last downloaded is equals to files of 0. Okay, so first I'm taking this file. First I'm taking this file and I'm just thinking that it is like a kind of the last downloaded file. Okay, so this is a static that we need to make because we are using in a static mode. So now we have taken this file. Okay, last downloaded. Now I need to write a condition. I need to write a condition. Like now I need to take each and every file. Then I need to write a condition like which one is like last downloaded. So for this, what I'm going to do, I am taking a for loop from int I is equals to 0 and I is less than last downloaded dot length of it. So last downloaded length of it. Okay, so if I take last downloaded, what happens? It will be comparing same file with same file, right? So which one I need to take? I need to take the files and I need to do the comparison. Okay, just it's a simple, very simple formula. Now you see what it is doing, change the length. Okay, now if the last downloaded value, okay, that's nothing but I'm going to get the, that's nothing but see the value of it in the sense last modified. So what it does is like it's going to give the last modified. So last modified in the sense the date. Okay, the date and the timestamp. Last modified is less than the files, whatever the files that we are taking. Okay, files of I dot last modified. So we are taking one file at a time and then we are checking. So if this satisfies, then what I'm going to do is like last downloaded is equals to file of files of file. Okay, so it's very simple, guys. Now you see, I've taken all the files in a file array, and after that, what I'm doing is like I'm just creating a file object here. Okay, so it's an object, and with this object, I'm assuming that the first file I'm taking, and first file I'm taking, and I'm making it as like a last downloaded. Okay, last downloaded. I'm thinking this is the last downloaded, and I'm creating a for loop here. I'm taking one file at a time. Okay, so I have one file at a time from this particular array, and I'm just comparing here. So what is the condition? If last downloaded dot last modified is less than this one. Okay, so what is it? What it will do is like it will take this file and it will compare the date modified with this file. So likewise, it will compare. If any one of these particular date is greater than this one, then it will replace that particular file name, and it will show you like this is the last modified file. Okay, so now we have for loop, and if this is like directory, and we'll start executing this. Otherwise, we are going to throw the exception. Okay, we are using the user defined exception. Okay, throw exception saying that this is not a directory. Okay, this is smarter way of doing this. Okay, so we have to throw this exception here. Now you see, if I say download and execute this, let's see what happens now. It says like this is not a directory. Okay, so it's like simply user defined exception that we are going to use, custom defined. Okay, now we have this particular file and see that this is the directory. Then everything, if everything works fine, then what we have to do? We have to just get the name of this last downloaded file. Okay, so if this is a directory, and I'll get the name of this last downloaded file. So we're done with this. So here else statement outside, we are going to do is like we are going to give a simple statement here. That's on last downloaded. That get name, absolute path, and we'll get the name of it. The way that file is located and all. Okay, so last downloaded dot get name. And execute this. See what it is showing. So the location is this one, and the file name is this is the file name. So let's go and try to download some file, and we'll see that if this file is like last downloaded, because this is the latest one we are downloading it, right? So we'll take sample file download.pdf or something. Okay, I'll click on it. I'll just click on this save button. Okay, so download or save button. Now you can see I'm just saving it. I'll close it. Now, which file I need to get? I need to get the sample file. Now you see sample.pdf. Go to the folder and try to check it. Now you see this is the file which is latestly downloaded. It's nothing but it will check the last modified date. If it is greater than any of this value, then it will show this one. Okay, it will compare each and every file and it will show you that particular file is like the last downloaded file. Okay, so it is very simple program, and this will be asked in interviews like how do you find out like last downloaded? We have to use a method called last modified. You can say that I want to take all the files in an array, and I'll compare each and every file with the file that I've taken as like a initially what I'm taking is like last. I'm just creating a file object and thinking that this is the last downloaded file, and I'm comparing with each and every files in the file array. And if anything is like less than this, okay. So if the last modified is less than the file, then what I'm doing is like last modified is equals to file one. Okay. So now you see, if you say this one as like greater, okay, the first modified file, okay, first time it's like when the system when we start downloading the files in that particular location, right? So what it is like, it's going to take that. So let's take this particular location, and you will see that which file is like last modified or lastly downloaded. That is first one. So f1 fw.txt is the first file that we have created. Okay. So let me take greater than, sorry, less than. So we have taken the greater than initially, and we are taking the less than now. Okay. Now you see sample123 is the file that we have created lastly. Okay. So first we have created fw.txt. So likewise, what we have to do is like whenever the file is downloaded in that particular location, so we need to write this particular piece of code, so which will get you the last downloaded file. Okay. So with this, we can say that we can achieve the upload and download also. So we'll see the examples in Selenium also. While writing the script, I'll show you how do we find out which one is the last downloaded file. Okay. So these actions, whatever actions that we have performed, right? So these actions will be done through the automation. That automation will help you to download the file. After that, we need to write this code to get the last downloaded file. Okay. So this is a program, and we have looked into how do we create the files and how do we make the directory. So just try to use some of these methods, and you can create some files, create some directories, put some files inside it, and execute this last downloaded, like whatever we are trying to achieve, right? So through this program, use this program and try to get the last downloaded file or last modified file. Okay. So with this, we can conclude that file handling is done. And yeah, so one more thing is like we need to look into the uh, reading of the data from the Excel file, right? So that I'll tell you like how do we do it. Okay, for that we need to have some different classes. Like there's a process for this, and we'll try to look into that now. Okay, so here what I'm doing is like I'm trying to create a particular file which has the dot extension of XLS. Okay, so let's go and try to create a sample Excel file here. Okay, this can be achieved like we can achieve data driven testing with the help of like Excel files. Okay, so Excel data dot XLSX. Okay, there's a simple process for this, guys. Okay, let me take serial number, username, and some password. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Um, admin. Password we have test. Okay, so this is a file. Okay, so I'm going to rename this file name as like details. Okay. So I'm saving this file in this location. Now we are going to write a program. So before going to this, we need to follow a few steps. Okay. So Excel file, XLS, we have two formats. Okay. XLS and other one is like XLSX. So if you want to read the data from this XLS file, then we have to take HFF. Okay. HS. Okay. So it was like, this particular jar files. Okay. So this particular jar files will be used to read data from Excel files, and this particular jar files will be used to read the data from the XLSX file. Okay. So what happens initially is like, so this is Excel is like kind of a object. Okay. Kind of a object. So this we need to read the data from this object. So for this we have a process. Okay. So to support this, to support the reading data from the Excel file, we have a Apache POI. Okay. A POI is like we have POI jar files. Okay. These jar files, what they do is like they are going to read the data or write the data, or read the data from the Excel file, or write the data to the Excel files. Okay. So this is being introduced by the company called Apache. Okay. So what they did is like they have some jar files which will be helpful for us to read the data from that particular Excel file. Okay. So first what we need to do is like we need to download jar files. Okay. So jar files, Apache jars, so let's say Apache POI jars. Apache POI jar files. Okay. So then we need to add them to the project. Okay. So we need to add them to the project. After adding them, what we need is like we need to create objects. Okay. So first is like we'll take the FIS. What is FIS? File input stream. Okay. File input stream. So this input stream, it will help us to read the data from that particular file. Okay. First, we need to create object for the file input stream. After that, we need to create object for the workbook. So how do we read the data from the Excel file? So first, we need to go to that location. To go to the location and to read the data from that location, we'll be using file input stream. Okay. So we need to create object for this file input stream, and we need to pass the path of that file. So after that, we have like, what are the content that we have inside the Excel file? Workbook. Then we have sheet. Then we have rows. Then we have cells. Okay. So first we need to create object for this workbook. After that, we need to get the sheet from that workbook. After that, we need to get the rows from that sheet. And after that, we need to get the cells from that row. Okay. So for this, we have the following approaches. Now let's go to this particular site, Apache POI jars. Okay. POI jars. Now you see that it will directly take you to this Apache Software Foundation. Download real contracts. Okay. So click on this. You can see there are like different like all this types of source distributions and binary artifacts that we have. Okay. So we need to download binaries, whatever we have. So go to the binary artifacts. And you can see the final version, everything is like shown up here. Okay. So whichever thing that you want to download, you can download. Like I'll suggest you to download this zip file. Okay. So how do we go to this particular location? We have a lot of things here. You can see that when you say Apache POI download, it will take, this is the official site. Okay. So you can download from other things, also download jar files. We have like, download POI.jar. So some location we have, but still I advise you to go to this particular official site and download this. Okay. Now we have, we went to this download. Now you can see source distribution and the binary artifacts. We need to select the binary artifacts. From here, you can select the binary artifacts. And after that, you can click on this jar. So now it is going to download. Okay. Now you see, we got this final POI.bin, whatever we have, like, this is the jar files that that will be like, this is the file that all the jar files will be located. Now I'm going to extract it to the So we have this files here, okay? And other way also, I'll show you, okay? So let's do this two ways. One is like I did it from the official side. Another one is like you have jar files with all the dependencies also we have. So whenever we are working with the Maven directly, it will be helpful for us. Like whenever we are working with the Maven, so we get some dependencies here, okay? So if you can go to the Maven, okay, I mean, we'll discuss that Maven also. How do we add this jar files? Now I'll try to download this, whatever jar files that we have that are available inside this, okay? So I'll just click on it. It's taking some time. Yeah, now I can see jar files one.zip. So I'll go to this location and try to extract it. So we have this file set files. Okay, let's try to add this jar files, which are like already made, which are like grouped into kind of the folder. So I'm going to take this one. We can cancel. Now from where we need to add this, we can go to this file, like project, whichever it is defined here. Now add the external jars. Go to the jar files, add all of them. See all the jar files are added here. Okay, now go to this particular package, file handling. Now we'll try to create a class called read data from Excel. Yeah. Sorry.
What is for download files?
So these are the jar files that I've downloaded. Okay, let me go back to this. Okay, this is, you can take this one. So you can see this is the version which is defined. So
why we are downloading that?
Why are we downloading that?
Yes.
Yeah, I told you, right? So we need some, see, this is like a kind of object which will not be supported directly by Java. So for that reason, what we have to do is like, we need to download these jar files. Okay, jar files like Apache Poi, which will help you to help you to provide the jar files, which will, with which we can read the data, write the data to the Excel file. Okay, so as I discussed here, right? So Excel file is an object. Okay, to read it, we need to have Poi jar files, which are provided by the Apache, so that we can use them and we can read the data. Okay, so in interviews, they are going to ask you like what jar files that we use for reading or writing data from the Excel file. So you can say that Apache Poi. Okay, Apache Poi is jars. See, this is the reason that we are downloading and we are adding them to the project, and then we are going to create object to the file stream. From there, we are going to read the data from the Excel file. Like first we'll read the first we'll create the object to the workbook. After that sheet. After that we'll get the rows, and after that we are going to get the cells. Okay, and after that we are going to get the data. That's nothing but data from the Excel file. Cell values. Okay, for that what we have is like we have two options. One is like download release artifacts. Go to this particular official site and you can download it. Okay, so binary artifacts. From here you can click on this and download this poi.jar zip, unzip it and try to add those jar files to the configuration, build configuration. How do we add the jar files here? So right click on this project and you can see build path, configure build path. Now you can click on this add external jars. It will bring up all these things. Okay. Once you extract that, it will show you in the folder. You have to add all these jar files. So once you add these jar files, then you can able to see them under this reference to jars. Okay. So reference files, reference libraries. So here you can go and check if all of them are added properly. Okay. So you can see Poi jar, Poi XLS, Poi XML, and all these are like jar files which we have added so far. Okay, to read the data from that Excel file. Are you clear with this?
Yes.
Okay. So now what is our agenda is like we need to read the data from the Excel file. How do we read the data from the Excel file is like we need to give the file path, okay, location of that particular file. Okay. For that, I'm going to create a string variable file path is equals to this. So I'm making it as like dynamic, and if I use system.get property, so this will bring you the current directory location. So it is user.dir. Okay. So after that, you can give the location of the file. So what is that file that we want to read? This is the file, right? So source src files, and after that we need to refresh it. We have created the Excel file, right? First I have created the Excel file. This is the name of that file. Okay. So let me just go to this location. So already we have that extension here. See, what is the file name? Excel data. Now we go and try to see what that do we have that file or not. Okay. So let me just take the file path. This is for our confirmation. Okay. So let's go and try to execute it and see. So we have this file. Okay. So we got the file and we got the file path also. So now, as we discussed, like what are the things that we have to do is like we have to create object for the file input string. So for this, what I'm going to do, I'll just create file input stream object here. That is nothing but FIS, and just I'm referring it to the null first for the first time. Okay. So we need to import the package from the. This is the package that we need to import. Okay, into this package, into this particular class. Okay. Now we have imported this package. Now I need to give the location. Okay. So file input stream, and we have to give the file path. So now what it does is like it will go and try to search in this file in this location. Okay. So new file path. It's going to throw the exception. You can declare the exception or you can put it in try catch box. Okay. Now for now, I'll just try to. Okay. Let me just put it here. Otherwise, I'll just minimize this. This is fine. Okay. Now, what are the next thing we have to create? We need to create object. Object of output. How do we do it now? We have to take. Now you can see that XSF is for reading the data from Excel SX files. Okay. HSF is for reading the data from the Excel as well. Okay. So the older versions. The new version is like XSSF. Okay. So here I'm going to take the workbook, and workbook WB is equals to new XSF. And we have to pass the file path we have taken, like we have to pass the stream here. If you don't pass the stream, how does it exactly know that what file that we have to read from? Okay. So that is the reason why we have to pass this value. Okay. So when you go to this XSF, we don't have this what we say the source. Okay. We need to add that source. I'll show you how to do it. But what happens here in this case is like now we have created the object. This object is referring to this stream. This stream is referring to the file path. It's nothing but it's making the connection. Okay. So this file path is like into the stream of file input stream, and this file input stream is like passed as like a parameter to this particular XSF constructor. So it's kind of like you can see that stream is throwing exception. If it is not found, then what it is like it's going to throw the exception. Now we have created object for the workbook. What is the next thing? We have to create object for the sheet. Okay. So we have to create object for the sheet. Sheet. As such is equals to wp dot get sheet. Okay. So what we are trying to do is like we want to get the sheet name. Okay. So get sheet. And we have that sheet name, login details or something, but I've created the sheet, right? See. Okay. So now we got the workbook and we got the sheet. Now we have to get number of rows and number of columns. Okay. So number of rows and number of columns. For that, what we are going to do is like we are going to use SSF row. Okay. SSF row, and we have to create object for this. It is equals to sheet dot get physical. Here we have two things. Okay. Get rows. We have get rows, like it's going to give the rows. But see, what we have to do is like we have to use this method. Okay. So earlier we used to have that method. Now it is like, I think it's not there. Now it's like get physical number of rows. So yeah, first we have to take it as like the number of rows that we want to calculate. Okay. So I'm going to create two empty kind of like, null variables here, null objects, okay, not variables, null objects. So one is like row, another one is like cell, because we want to store the values of rows and cells. Okay. Rows and cells. So now what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to get the number of rows. Okay, number of rows in the Excel file. After that, I'll be getting the number of cells. So here I'm going to say that number of rows is equals to get physical number of rows here. Okay, so it will return the integer value. So it will like we'll see that number of rows. So and we'll get the number of cells. So this will help you to iterate. Okay, so iterate. First, we'll be getting the number of rows. After that, we'll be iterating through the cells. So we have two for loops. First for loop is like iterating the rows, and second for loop is like iterating the cells. So here, why I'm taking is like everything is like a kind of a object in this Excel file. So XSF row is like it's kind of like a object. This is a reference variable. So reference variable. Now what we do is like after iterating the row, each row I'm going to take it as like an object. After getting the rows, I'm going to take like each cell as like an object. Within that cell, we have other ways to read the data. So we'll see what are those things. Okay. So for now, what I'm going to do is like I'll take the number of rows and number of columns. So columns would like rows would be like there can be change in the rows, but columns would be like there can be like a number of columns which will be defined at the first row. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is like I'm going to take the number of columns based on the first row. Okay, first row. Initially, I'm taking this one as like 0 dot get physical number of cells. Okay, so based on the first row will have all the columns, right? All the columns. Based on this first row, I'm going to get the number of columns. Okay, number of columns defined inside it. So now what I'm going to do is like I'll take the for loop int I is equals to 0, I is less than. So first what we need to do? We need to take number of rows. Okay, based on the rows, I'm going to iterate. So I'll go to the first row. Now I'm going to use this object. Okay, this is nothing but it will get the first row. So sheet dot get row. Now we got the first row. Okay, this is nothing but object. This object is like getting the first row now. So this first row, we got the first row. After this, what we have to do? We have to write another for loop to get the column values. Okay, so j is less than number of columns j plus plus. Now I got the row. I'm just into that row now. Okay, so this is nothing but this will fetch the rows, and here we need to fetch the cells. So cell is equals to what I need to do now? Row dot get cell value. Okay, now you see we have created object for the workbook. From workbook, I'm getting the sheet. From sheet, I'm getting the row here. Okay, so from sheet, I'm getting the row, and from row, I'm going to get the cell. It's kind of like a chaining. Workbook, sheet, row, and cell. Okay. So now we got this cell and like we got the value. Okay. So this is kind of like a object. So this will have like the different methods here. Okay. So we need to check what type of data that we have. So when you go to this file, I'm going to add one more here. Homepage access. Okay. So I'll say that true. False. True. What type of data that we have here is like you can see numeric value, and we have strings, and we have Boolean values. Okay, Boolean values. I'll show you in two ways how do we exactly retrieve the data. Now I want to check if this is a numeric, I need to print the numeric. If it is a string, I need to print the string value. If it is a Boolean, it need to check for the Boolean. Okay, for this we have a different set of methods which are available as part of Apache. Like we need to check the set style. Okay, so get cell style is equals to we have some interfaces which will get you the cell type. Okay, cell dot. I'm sorry for this. We're not going to get the cell style. We have to get the type actually. Get cell type. Cell type of value that we have. Okay. So here we are going to use cell type, and this type dot. If it is a string, we are going to take the string. Okay. So it is showing some other. It is importing from the wrong package. We need to take the right package. What is that package that we have to take is like org apache poi.sss.user module. Okay. So I'll just remove this and I'm going to there's like import dot. I'll take star in the sense what it does is like it's going to import all the classes from this particular package. Okay, so when I say star, it's going to import all the package from the package. So all the package from that particular, all the classes and all the interfaces from that particular package. So here you can see we have different set of classes which are part of user module, XSF and all, which will be imported individually. But when you say star, it will take all of them. Okay, so it's kind of like a we have a wildcard character. Now you see it's like cell type. Okay, if this is a string, okay, it's going to check now if the cell type whatever we have in that particular Excel file is a string, then it's going to print the string values. How do we print the values now? I'm going to take the print because we have a lot of columns, right? It's not only one column. We have number of rows and number of columns are exceeding more than one. So if we have only one, then we can just print it on a different lines. Okay, let's go ahead and try to print it on a different lines. I'll show you how to exactly print it. Now cell dot get string cell value. If this whatever cell value that we have in that Excel file, okay, the type, okay, if it is matching with the cell type dot string. So if it is matching with this, we are going to print that particular value as like a string on this console. Okay, so likewise we are going to check for the rest of the type of data. Okay, so cell type, if it is numeric, so it will print the numeric. Get numeric cell value. Okay, so else if. So next, else if it is a Boolean value. Okay, so likewise we have a different types here. What is this? Is a enum actually. Okay, enum, inside that we have a constants. Okay, we'll discuss about what are enums and all. So how do we define the enums and all? So now we are trying to use this enum. Inside these enums we have some constants. Okay, so if this is matching the cell type, whatever cell type that we are going to get, so this is nothing but this is a kind of object, and here you can see the method that we have inside this particular class. So what it does is like it's going to get the data from the cell and it's going to compare. If it is a Boolean, it will print the Boolean value. Okay, So we have a method with this will print the Boolean value. So this is fine. And this is like first cell. First, what it will do, it will take the first row and it will get all the cells of that particular row and it will go and check each and every cell value. Okay. So each and every cell value. So once we get that cell value, then it's going to get compare with the type of data that we have inside that Excel file. If that is a string, it will print the string value. If it is a numeric, it will print the numeric. If it's like Boolean, it's going to print the Boolean value. Okay. So after this first iteration, first iteration in the cell is done, then what I'm going to do is I want to print it in the next line. Okay. So just I'm just trying to format it in a proper way to display the data. I will go and try to execute this program. See, we got this. Don't worry about what is and all. So it got a serial number, username, password, home. 1, 2, 3, 4 records that we have, right? So what is the value that we have? This is like integer value, and this is a string, this is a string, and this is a Boolean. Okay. So it is printing. So to just do a proper format, I'm just printing them in a single line. So why I'm taking this print is see, first it will come to this row and it will take all the cell values. First it will check for the cell. Okay. First cell is like string. It will just print it. And again, it will take the next cell value. That's nothing but first row, second cell, first row, third cell. Likewise, it will check all the 3 column values here. 3 column values, and first one is string, it will print the string, and it will go and check for the second cell value. If it is numeric, it will print the numeric. If it is if it is again a string, it will go and print the string. Likewise, it will continue to iterate in the first row and all the cell values in that particular row. Okay, it's nothing but the columns, rows and columns. First row, first column, first row, second column, first row, third column. Columns are just we are talking about in the cell, right? So that's nothing but the column. Now what I'm going to do is I'll remove this println, and now you see that it will be formatted in a proper way. See, serial number, username, password, and home. Okay, to just to give the spaces after every cell value, I'm just adding this empty string so that it could add some space here. When I go and execute this, see, serial number, username, password, and home. Okay, home page in the sense I can add it as a home page access. Okay, just I'm putting some home page access. So user logged into the application, he should have access. This user logged into the application, he should not have access to the home page. Likewise, I'm just defining some Boolean values here. Let's go and execute this program. Okay. Serial number, username, password, and home page access. Okay, so like this, we are going to read the data from the Excel file. This is only the first way of doing it. Let's go and try to show you another way that is very simple. So here I'm going to add a method public static void data Okay. Second way is very simple. I'll copy everything. We have a lot of ways, but I'm just showing you how to do it this way. Can we? So instead of doing this stuff, okay, here we have a lot of things that we have done, right? So we are checking each and every column is whether it is string, numeric, Boolean. If, for example, if it is something else, if it is double or something, in that case, we have other methods also, like cell type, dot float, .ti. We have like a lot of things here. See, none, blank, boolean, error, formula, numeric, strings. So if it is something else, okay, in that case, what we have to do is like we have to again check for the format, right? So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use a simple class called data formatter. Data format, I'll say format, and I'll format everything into the string. So data formatter, I think. 1 second. We have another class here. So we have two classes which will help you to read the data. But I'm going to take the class as like data formatter. Okay. So format is equals to new data formatter. Okay. So now we got this. Now what I'm going to do is like I'll take the string value is equals to format dot format cell value. Okay. Whatever cell value that we have, it will be formatted into the string. So just this is simple, right? So read. One is like first we'll try to execute this one and see the difference between this and this. First we are getting the values as like serial number. You can see that 1.0 because this is like a numeric value and this is like a Boolean value. So you can see the difference here. So how the data is like formatted in this particular example. Okay. So now we'll take the second approach. Here I'm using the data formatter. So data formatter would format everything in the form of string. Now go and execute this and see what is the output. So you got the output, right? 1, 2 and all. So we'll try to put it in a single. Now you go and execute and see the difference between these two. Okay. Earlier it was showing 1.0 and it was showing like small letters, right? Because that is like it's checking for the Boolean values and the numeric values and string values. But here it's kind of like everything is converted into the string. So this is the second approach. So it is very simple because we have used the data formatter as the class. We have created object and we are trying to convert that particular value into the string and we want to print it here. So here we are checking each and everything, okay? Each and every cell, that whether it is a string or numeric or Boolean. After that, we are trying to print the value. Okay. So this is how we'll be reading the data from the Excel file. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys? Do you have any questions? So please practice. This is very important. And this is like most asked questions in the interviews. Okay. So what are the things that we have used is like we have downloaded the Apache Point and we used, what is that package that we use? XSL, because we are reading data from XLSX. So Excel is like XLS will be read using the HSS, but XSS will be useful for reading the data from the XLSX. And what we did, so we have created the input stream because we are just trying to read the data from that Excel file. So that file is like, it's located somewhere and we are just creating a stream for that. From there, we are going to read. We have created the object for the workbook and we are passing FS as like parameter so that it will read the data from that particular file using the stream, file input stream. Okay. So after that, we have created the sheet and after that, we have taken the number of rows and number of columns and we have created the empty objects for this row and cell so that once we can go here into the first iteration, I can get the number of rows into the first for loop. In the first for loop, I'm getting the number of rows. In second for loop, I'm getting the number of columns. That is nothing but cell. Okay. So the I represent here is like rows. The J represents here like cells inside that particular row. Okay. So in the same approach here also we did the same thing. Only thing is like we have just changed. We have used the data formatter class so that we can format a particular content in the form of string and I want to print it. Okay. So this I'm going to upload, guys. Please practice it. It's very, very important. And it will be asked in interviews. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Let's meet tomorrow, and we'll be talking about collections tomorrow. Okay. So I'll try to see that if we can have some more things in Excel file. How do we read the data? Yeah, there is another thing is like how do we write the data? So that is quite easy. If you have few minutes, then we can complete that one also. Do you have few minutes?
Okay, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So let's go and try to create a simple class. Create Excel file. So input stream will be used for. Why do we use input stream? To read the data from the Excel file.
Read the data.
Then what to write the data into the Excel file? What we have to do?
Output.
Yes, absolutely right. Okay. New Excel. I'm going to give the path set new Excel dot XLSX. If it exists, it will not create. If it doesn't exist, then it's going to create the file. Okay. So it's very simple. This program is very simple here. Let's see. That file output stream equals to stream output actually. Okay. File output. Have the object created here. That is reference variable. Okay. What we need to do now? SSF book WB equals to new SSF workbook. Okay. So now we are not passing anything. Okay. So we need to write it, right? So we have to create new. Everything is like new for us now. Okay. So sheet sh is equals to WB dot create sheet. Okay. Create sheet dot. If you want to give the name, add name or okay, we can give ads like create sheet and you can give the string name here. SSF. Create dot. Okay, so first what we have done is like we have created the sheet. This is like, this is the sheet I've that created and I'm creating the row. Okay, this is like first row and first column. Okay, so now I'm going to create another column. Likewise, I'll create 3 columns. Okay, 4 columns, serial number, name, square. Okay, so I'll repeat the same thing here. One, okay, after this, what I'm going to do is like I'll just write this data. Right, we have to we dot write stream. Going to for the declaration IO declaration. WB dot close. So we are closing this. Now let's go and try to, this is like row one, right? Row one, row one, row one. But it is saying main. Doing something as like we cannot input same input because this is IO dot. Fail to save an error occurs while saving the package cannot input stream, right? Because this dot IO is null. Oh, what we have done here is like we have just we need to create output stream and we have to give the file path. I missed that one. So that is the reason it was not pointing to that. Okay. Because it is null, right? It is done. Go and try to refresh this and you got the new file. Go to this properties, location, and get to see that new file created. There is like how many rows that we have created? It's taking some time to open. Yeah. Serial number, name, Srikanth, and password. It's very easy, right? So how do we write the data? So we have created object for this row. That's nothing but sheet dot create first row. In that row, we are trying to add create cell. In that cell, we are going to use it set cell value. So likewise, we'll be adding these things. Okay. So serial number, name, and password. After that, we are creating second row and we are adding the values. Likewise, we can create number of rows. Okay. Row 2. Row 2. Row 2. So it is 2. It is rewriting it again. So what we wanted to do. Here we have to create the row. Okay. So it was 1. So that is the reason why it was overwriting the same. Now creating the second row. So now we got serial number and the name, password. Okay, new sheet is a sheet that we have created. Okay, so guys, this is how we'll be creating the new Excel files. It's not the only way we can create, like, a number of ways are there, but this is like best approach that we can use. Okay, basic approach and best approach. So here also we have another way, like we can use iterator and we can use return. In objects we can store the values. Okay, that we'll see down the line. How do we exactly use that? Okay, so whenever we are trying to read the data from the Excel file and pass that, store it as like an array, 2-dimensional array, and we can read the data from the 2-dimensional array using the data provider. This is another way that we have. Okay, so please practice this, guys, and please let me know if you have any doubts. So I think hopefully you have created this file, right? So please, if you are using this, you have to create this file folder inside this source. Otherwise, you cannot find this location. It will throw the error. Okay, I'm going to upload today's classes, that whatever we have discussed. So complete file handling will be uploaded. Okay. So again, you can just override those file handlings. File handling. I'm just renaming it with file handling of Excel file. Okay, guys, it's done. Yeah, thanks for your time. Let's meet tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye.